Today is one of my all-time favorite meals. It's surf and turf. Let's get started. Hey, I'm James from Smokin' Dad Barbecue, and today we're gonna cook an amazing tomahawk ribeye steak and a couple lobster tails, all on the Kamado Joe, Big Joe. Let me bring the camera a little bit closer so I can show you how we're gonna set up, and then we'll go inside. We're gonna prep our tails as well as our tomahawk for an amazing surf and turf, all cooked on our barbecue. All right, so we got our Big Joe cleaned out, ready to go. I'm just gonna toss in a couple more pieces of charcoal just to fill it up on a half basket so it's even. Then we're gonna install a grate and our soapstone, get ready to fire everything up. Okay, that looks great. Let's fire it up. All right, that looks good. Now we've got some coals going. Let's go ahead and drop in our divide and conquer rack. Now we can drop in our cooking grate. I'm gonna go right on the bottom level here. The setup that we're going for today is to get our soapstone as close as possible to the charcoal fire. So it's just gonna be soaking up as much heat. And that way we'll still be able to get a great sear without needing to worry about seeing temps like 700-800 degrees. We'll still be able to get this stone plenty hot at a dome temperature that's reading around 400 degrees. Let's go ahead and install our soapstone directly on top of this. This is optional, you don't have to do it. I just recommend it again because you're just providing that extra support for anything that we're pushing down on that soapstone. Just reduces the chance of any unwanted cracks. This is important any time of year, but as you may have saw in the camera opening scene there where you can see my breath, when it's cold outside, letting your ceramics, whether it's the grill, your deflector plates, or something like the soapstone, come up to temperature as you light your coals is critical to longevity and hassle-free enjoyment of your grill year-round. So we're just going to let this slowly come up to temperature. You can drop in another grid over here on our cool side with no fire below it, and we'll see this in about 20 minutes or so. We're up to temperature. Let's go inside and prep our tails as well as our tomahawk. All right, we got everything ready to go. We salt brined this earlier today and just left it out for 4 or 5 hours. I did that because the salt can penetrate the meat much more quickly at room temperature than it can when it's in the refrigerator. So if you're in a bit of a pinch and you don't have time to salt brine your meat overnight, go ahead and salt it and start cooking it within about 3-4 hours after doing that. So for the binder, I'm gonna use my favorite binder, which is Truff hot sauce. I just find it adds an amazing depth of smoky goodness. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on, rub that in, then we're gonna hit it with some garlic and pepper, and again, no more salt because we've already got that on there. Then we'll move over to our tails, and the plan here is just to cut down the spine, present the meat on top, and we'll season that with a little bit of garlic. Let's get started. Okay, so I just took the opportunity to go ahead and install our meter probe before we get all cleaned up. Let me move this aside and we'll start working on our tails. Okay, so let's get some kitchen shears and start cutting the spine. So just getting your fingers in there, what we're doing is just releasing the flesh from the tail, not leaving any behind, and we're going to present that up on top. Okay, so just be careful not to completely remove it. We still leave a little piece just attached, but now what that's going to do is put that lobster meat up nice on top, and that'll act like a little bit of an indirect shield for our lobster meat. I'll take you fast forward while I finish up the other two, and we'll be ready to season them. Okay, those look great. We're just going to dust these with a little bit of our garlic powder. All right, our Big Joe is nearly up to temperature. We are sitting at just shy of 400. I'm getting some great heat in the dome. So all I'm waiting for is this to be a little bit hotter to touch. If I can touch and hold my hand, we're somewhere in the dome what it should be between 300, 350 degrees. This isn't quite 400 degrees yet. I should not be able to hold it that long. And so this is worth the wait for a couple of reasons. We're gonna be cooking our tomahawk on the soapstone. And so the game plan here is to let this get a little bit hotter than what we want. We're going to sear it first, then move it over to the indirect side to let it finish. And so what we're getting is a couple different type of heat sources here. First, we're going to get, heat that's from conduction right on that soapstone, where we're going to have surface to surface, and we're going to get that blast sear, some great caramelization. By waiting a little bit longer and make sure that we get some heat built up in our Big Joe dome, that's going to give us that infrared cooking, and then we're going to have that airflow moving from our fire hitting the soapstone and then being forced around the side, sort of billowing out the top, and that's going to give us our convection cooking. And so if you rush these steps and you have a cold dome, you're just not going to get as even doneness all the way through, especially something as thick as this Tomahawk. And speaking of the Tomahawk, just because we have a minute to spare while we're warming up, this is absolutely my favorite steak. There is a lot of steaks, especially on YouTube and social media, start getting a lot of attention. Wagyu, Australian Wagyu, A5 Wagyu. I recently ordered one. It cost me an arm and a leg, and as amazing as it is, it's truly an amazing experience. The next day, my wife and I felt sick because it was so rich, we ate too much. So they definitely take the advice of small doses. But you can end up spending, double, triple, many, many more times the price of this large in charge Tomahawk ribeye. And I think it's getting a little bit overlooked. It used to be the reason that you looked at a tri-tip or picanha or Wagyu is that the price of a Tomahawk was just running away with the show. I've actually found it's my favorite value steak right now because I'm getting it less than a tri-tip, less than a picanha, and way less than anything that has the word Wagyu in it. So if it's been a while since you've given some Tomahawk a little bit of attention, definitely go check it out because it's still way up there on my books for an amazing family meal, or in the future when we can share again with friends. Let's check out our temps here, see if we're ready to start our sear, and we'll get moving on with our lobster tails. Okay, we are up to temp just over about 430 degrees. Smoke is running clear, and I'm not wanting to put my hands on that dome any longer. So let's go ahead and get some great Maillard reaction on the outside of our Tomahawk. We'll move it over to the indirect side and start to settle things down. So after a couple minutes of searing, I think we've got a great Maillard reaction. Let's go ahead and put this down, bone side down against the heat. We'll start to settle our vent settings to hold about 350 degrees. So I'm going to take the top vent to the third line, and I'm going to go one finger on the bottom. All right, our meter says our Tomahawk is done. Time to get it off and rest. I'm going to go grab our tails and get cooking on those, but just check that out. That's gonna be beautiful, juicy. All right, we'll let that rest. I'll go get the tails. All right, our steak's inside and resting. So I've just dropped a little bit of butter and garlic, and I have half a lime here. I'm just gonna add some lime juice. I'm just gonna go ahead now and let this preheat in the grill. Lobster only will take about 8 minutes or so. So to help get a bit of a basting solution for our lobster, I'm just going to let that melt and we'll be ready to throw them on. All right, our butter's melted. I just pulled that off so we can spoon that on. Let's go ahead though and get our tails. So we're just going to set these just where they can get a little bit of that heat. And these should only take about 8 minutes or so, or until we hit around 140 degrees Fahrenheit internal temperature. So these have been on about 4 minutes so far, so we're halfway. They're sitting around 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit versus our 140 finishing temp. Give them another 4 minutes. All right, timer's up. Let's check these out. They're looking good. We're just a few degrees short there, 145. We're at 136. That one might be done. 142. So that one is the furthest along, so I am going to just move it. It needs a few more degrees, but I'm just going to move it a little further back and give those 2 more minutes. All right, while our lobster tails need an extra minute, it's perfect time to slice in our steak, which has now been resting. All right, let's slice this up. Just perfect medium rare, edge to edge. This is going to be good. Check out the spinalis here. Beautiful. All right, let's slice this, fast forward. All right, our tails are ready. Let's go plate this up for a taste test. All right, time for my favorite part of the evening, our taste test. So let's dig in. I've got a little plate here with some lobster as well as some of our tomahawk. Let's dig in with the tomahawk. That little surprise right there was the crust. It has just this little crunch, but it just dissolved immediately as soon as you bite at it. That's one of the reasons I love this soapstone. You just get an amazing sear, as well as being able to do other things on it, and it doesn't rest or have any maintenance issues in this weather like we're having right now, which you might get with cast iron. So big fan of that. I'm going to do a little piece of the lobster here. See if I can just get a bite so I can save the last bit to go with that steak. Oh my word. I'm a huge fan of lobster, but lobster over charcoal is amazing. And that butter, garlic, a little bit of lime juice is phenomenal. I'm going to mix these two pieces together. The surf and turf was meant to be. Let us know how that is. Lights out. That is delicious. I'm ending this video fast so I can go inside and keep eating that. That is incredible. Anyways, I hope you really enjoyed this video. And if anything, if it's been a while, go ahead and give your local tomahawk a try again. It's just a fantastic steak. I love it, and with the right amount of salt brining, whether it's the same day like we did today, or overnight, you can overcome any of those concerns you might have around tenderness. This is full of flavor and is perfectly easy to chew. Wonderful bite. Anyways, if you like this video, please let YouTube know by smashing that thumbs up button, and let me know by hitting subscribe to catch future videos. Until next time, I'm James from Soaking Dead Barbecue signing off, and remember, don't be afraid, fire it up.